The Ojalegba market bustled with its usual chaos. Vendors shouting prices, customers haggling, motorcycles weaving through narrow pathways. Amidst a symphony of commerce, Adana Okafor sat at her small tailoring stall, guiding fabric through her second-hand sewing machine. At 24, Adana carried responsibility far beyond her years. Since her father's death, she had become the primary provider for her ailing mother and two younger siblings. Her small tailoring business barely kept them afloat, but she faced each day with unwavering determination. "Adana, I brought you lunch," called a familiar voice. Chioma Ease, Adana's childhood friend who ran Purdue's stall, approached with a small package wrapped in newspaper. Unlike Adana's gentle demeanor, Chioma was sharp-edged and practical. "You shouldn't have," Adana said, though her stomach growled at the sight. "Of course I should. You forget to eat otherwise," Chioma replied, settling on a small stool. "Besides, I need to ensure you finish Mrs. Okonkwo's dress. My cousin's wedding is Saturday." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion from the market's entrance. A man stumbled toward them, pressing a hand against his bleeding forehead, clothes torn and dusty. "Help!" he gasped, reaching Adana's stall before collapsing against her small counter. Chioma immediately stepped back. "Don't get involved," she hissed. "He could be dangerous. Let security handle it." But Adana was already clearing space on her bench. "Sir, can you sit? What happened to you?" "Mugged," the man managed. "They took everything." "Watch me," Chioma retorted, stepping away further. "This is exactly what I mean about you. Always helping others at your own expense. One day that kindness will be your undoing." "I'm going to clean that wound," Adana told the injured man, ignoring her friend's warning. What Adana couldn't know was that the stranger, who would give his name simply as Olu, was actually Oyemi Banko, founder and CEO of Afritech Solutions, one of Nigeria's most successful technology companies. His net worth exceeded billions of naira, and his face regularly appeared in business magazines. He had deliberately dressed down in simple clothes and ventured into market alone, an increasingly common habit born of his exhaustion with people interested only in his wealth. As Adana examined his wound more carefully, she frowned. "This needs medicine and proper bandages. Wait here." Before Oyemi could protest, she had disappeared into market. Through gaps between stalls, he watched her approach a small pharmacy, counting out coins from a worn purse, clearly spending money she could ill afford. Throughout the afternoon, Oyemi remained at Adana's stall, observing her interactions, the respectful way she treated every customer, the small kindnesses she offered, and her incredible skill with needle and thread. "I'll return and repay your kindness," he promised when finally leaving. Adana shook her head. "No need. Just help someone else when you can." Later that evening, Adana returned home to find her mother sitting in semi-darkness, conserving electricity, while her siblings, Chitty, 16, and Kechi, 12, sat with school books open but untouched. "Adana!" Nkechi ran to hug her, but stopped when she saw her sister's empty hands. "Didn't you bring dinner?" There was a situation at the market today," Adana explained hesitantly. "But don't worry, I'll figure something out." "Didn't you sell anything today, sister?" Chitty asked, his adolescent voice cracking with emotion. "We haven't eaten since morning." The guilt washed over Adana in a suffocating wave. She thought of the injured stranger, his grateful eyes, his promise to return, and for the first time regretted her impulsive generosity. Desperate, she visited Chioma to borrow money for food. "See what your kindness brings you?" Chioma said, reluctantly counting out a small sum. "You feed strangers while your own family starves? When will you learn to calculate before you act?" That night, as her family ate their meager meal, Adana's mother noticed her distraction. "What happened today?" she asked gently. Adana confessed how she'd spent their food money helping a wounded stranger. Instead of the scolding she expected, her mother simply squeezed her hand. "Your father always said kindness never goes to waste. I'd rather have a daughter with a generous heart than one who turns away from suffering." Across the city, in a luxurious penthouse overlooking the ocean, Oyemi Banko instructed his most trusted driver. "I want everything you can find out about her. the seamstress at Ojalegba Market. Adana. May I ask why, sir? His assistant inquired carefully. Al-Yamid stared out at the glittering city lights. Because today, for the first time in years, someone saw me, not my money, not my status, just me, and she helped anyway. She spent her last money helping a bleeding stranger while her family went hungry. If you think Adana's kindness was foolish or inspiring, smash that like button and subscribe to Africantales by Zion. Drop a comment. Would you help like Adana or warned against it like Chioma? The next chapter reveals how this one decision changes everything for Adana. Share this video. Turn on notifications. A week had passed since the incident with the wounded stranger. Adana had almost forgotten him amid more pressing concerns. School fees for her siblings, medicine for her mother, and the constant worry of daily meals. You look exhausted, Chioma commented that morning, stopping by Adana's stall. Did you stay up all night with that beadwork again? Adana nodded, stifling a yawn. Mrs. Okonkwo's daughter wants additional embellishments. She's paying extra. Speaking of which, what is that? Chioma suddenly straightened, pointing toward the market entrance. A sleek black Mercedes had pulled up, a rare sight in their section of Ojalegba. The car's appearance created an immediate stir among vendors and customers alike. Chioma immediately abandoned her tomatoes. I'm going to see who it is, she said, smoothing her dress and pinching her cheeks for color. Unlike Chioma, who viewed every wealthy visitor as a potential ticket out of poverty, Adana simply returned to her sewing. She was so absorbed that she didn't notice when the crowd parted to admit a well-dressed man to her stall. Olu, she breathed, recognizing the stranger despite his transformation. Gone with the torn clothes, replaced by expensive attire, his face clean-shaven with a wound now just a faint mark. I promised I would return, he said with a warm smile. Behind him, Adana could see Chioma hovering nearby, her expression shifting from curiosity to shock. Before Adana could respond, Chioma materialized at the man's elbow. Welcome back to our market, sir, she gushed. I'm Chioma, Adana's best friend. I was so worried about you that day. I helped her gather the medical supplies for your wound. You know? The blatant lie made Adana wince, but her visitor merely nodded politely before turning back to her. I need several outfits made, traditional and Western styles. My usual tailors become unavailable. I'd be honored, Adana said cautiously, but my prices might not match what you're accustomed to paying. Money isn't an issue, he assured her. Quality work deserves fair compensation. As Adana took his measurements, Al-Yamid, still using only his shortened name, asked about her background and how she became a seamstress. My grandmother taught me, Adana explained. She said fabric holds stories, wedding joy in celebration attire, dignity in work clothes, comfort in everyday wear. A poetic perspective on a practical skill, he observed. When she finished measuring, Al-Yamid handed her an envelope. Will this be sufficient as a deposit? The amount inside was 3 times what she would have charged for all 5 outfits combined. This is too much, she protested. Al-Yamid gently closed her fingers around the envelope. Quality work deserves fair compensation, he repeated. Consider it both payment and my thanks for your help last week. That evening, when Adana returned home with bags of groceries and the remaining money, her family's reaction was one of stunned disbelief. All this from one customer? Her mother asked, concerned about the sudden windfall. He ordered 5 outfits, Mama, high-quality ones, and he paid a generous deposit. Over the next week, Adana poured herself into creating the first outfit, an agbada in rich burgundy fabric with subtle gold embroidery. When Al-Yamid returned for a progress check, he seemed pleased with her work. Then, unexpectedly, he asked, would you join me for coffee? To discuss the designs in more detail. The invitation caught Adana completely off guard. Social meetings at cafes were for people with leisure time and disposable income, neither of which she possessed. I should stay at my stall, she stammered. Customers might come. I can watch your stall, Chioma offered with a too bright smile. You won't lose any customers. At the cafe, Adana felt acutely aware of her simple dress compared to the stylish patrons around them. But Alyamide seemed completely at ease, ordering for them both with casual confidence. As they talked, Adana gradually relaxed, sharing stories about her family and her dreams of studying fashion design. Dreams defer to support her siblings' education first. That's still possible, Alyamide suggested. You're young, talented. Dreams need money to grow, Adana replied simply. And mine must wait. After coffee, as they prepared to part, Alyamide surprised her again. Would you consider having dinner with me next week? After I come for the fitting. Before Dana could answer, her phone rang. Her mother needed her urgently. Let me drive you home, Alyamide offered, despite her protests about her modest neighborhood. Adana relented due to concern for her mother. The drive revealed the stark contrast between their worlds. Children stopped to stare at the luxury car, adults watching with suspicion or envy. By the time they reached Adana's dilapidated apartment building, she was thoroughly embarrassed. To her surprise, Alyamide showed no discomfort in her humble home. Finding her mother in pain and out of medication, he immediately offered to help. I can get it now, he insisted when Adana explained they were waiting until they could afford the expensive medicine. Let me help as you helped me. When Alyamide returned with not only the prescribed medication, but additional pain relievers and groceries, Adana's protest died on her lips, seeing her mother's relief. As he prepared to leave, Alyamide repeated his dinner invitation. Caught between caution and curiosity, between Chioma's warnings and her own instincts, Adana made a decision. All right, she said, after the fitting next week. Later that evening, Chioma arrived unexpectedly. I came to check on your mother, she said, though her gaze swept the apartment, taking in the new groceries and medicine, and to see if you were okay after your ride home with Mr. Mystery Client. Olu was a perfect gentleman, Adana assured her. He even bought Mama's medicine. Did he now? How generous. Chioma's tone made the words less compliment than accusation. And what does he want in return for this generosity? Dinner, Adana admitted, next week after his fitting. I knew it, Chioma exclaimed. Men like that don't buy medicine and groceries for market girls without expectations. When will you see what's happening? As they argued in hushed tones, Adana realized something. You're investigating him, aren't you? That phone call you made after he first came back. Chioma didn't deny it. Someone needed to look out for you. My cousin works as security at tech companies. I asked him to check around. And Adana asked, unsure whether to be angry at the interference or grateful for concern. Nothing yet, Chioma admitted, but I'll find out who he really is. Just be careful, Adana. Men with that much money looking at girls like us. It rarely ends well. The stranger returned in a luxury, sir, and Chioma is already making secret calls. If you're feeling suspicious about this mysterious man's intentions, hit that like button and subscribe to Africantales by Zion. Comment below, is Chioma being a protective friend or a jealous snake? The dinner date in our next chapter will shock you. Share with friends who love unexpected romance. Turn on notifications. For days, Adana avoided responding to Alyamide's messages. She focused on completing his clothing order, determined to fulfill her professional obligation despite her personal confusion. Have you blocked his number yet? Chioma asked, hovering by Adana's market stall. Men like him don't take rejection well. I'm not rejecting him, Adana replied, carefully stitching the final details on a traditional outfit. I'm just processing everything. What's there to process? He lied to you. Before Adana could respond, the now familiar black Mercedes appeared at the market entrance. This time, however, it wasn't the driver who emerged but Alyamide himself, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit that screamed wealth and status. Whispers followed his progress through the market. Isn't that the tech billionaire? The Afritech founder? What's he doing here? Chioma hurried to Adana's side. He's here, she hissed, and not try blending anymore. When Alyamide reached the stall, he addressed Adana directly. I realize I'm causing a scene, but I needed to speak with you, and you haven't answered my messages. I'm working, Adana replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. And I have nothing to say that can't wait until our next scheduled fitting. Adana, he began, then paused, glancing at Chioma's protective stance. Could we speak privately? Anything you have to say can be said in front of my best friend, Adana insisted. She's the one who warned me something wasn't right from the beginning. Very well, he conceded. I came to apologize properly, in person. You were right. I wasn't fair in withholding information about myself. That created an imbalance I didn't fully appreciate until you pointed out. The public admission, spoken without lowering his voice despite the growing audience of curious vendors, surprised Adana. Apology accepted, she said formally. Is there anything else? Yes, Alyamide replied. I'd like to invite you and your family to my home for dinner this weekend. Your mother, siblings, and... He glanced at Chioma. Your best friend as well, if she's willing to come. The invitation was so unexpected that Adana momentarily lost her composure. My family? Yes. I thought perhaps if you all saw where and how I live, experienced my world together, it might help bridge the gap I created through my partial truths. His eyes held hers steadily. No more secrets, no more imbalance of information. Just honest conversation among people getting to know each other. Chioma snorted softly. Getting to know each other? Is that what the rich call it these days? Alyamide turned to face her directly. Ms. Ease, I understand your skepticism. Your loyalty to Adana speaks well of your character. That's why I'm including you in this invitation, so you can see for yourself what my intentions are. We'll consider your invitation, Adana said finally, but I make no promises. Later that evening, as Adana discussed the invitation with her family, opinions were divided. Chitty was suspicious, Nkechi was thrilled, and her mother was pragmatic. We lose nothing by going, Neka pointed out. At worst, we have an interesting story to tell. At best, perhaps you gain clarity about this man and his intentions. After much deliberation, Adana accepted the invitation for Saturday evening. When the day arrived, the Okafor family prepared nervously. Adana selected a dress she created but never worn, a knee-length design in deep teal with subtle hand embroidery. Her mother wore her church outfit, Chitty his school uniform trousers with his only button-down shirt, and Nkechi experimented with different hairstyles, excited about visiting a real penthouse. Chioma arrived in a new, form-fitting dress that pushed the boundaries of appropriate evening wear, accessorized with costume jewelry, designed to resemble expensive pieces. Ready to enter the lion's den? She asked, her tone light but her eyes calculating. At Alyamide's building, the concierge welcomed them with practiced warmth. Mr. Banco is expecting you, he informed them, directing them to the private elevator. When the doors parted, revealing the expansive penthouse with its panoramic views, even Chioma couldn't suppress a gasp of appreciation. Alyamide stood waiting to greet them, dressed simply but elegantly. Welcome, he said warmly, greeting Neka first, a gesture of respect for the family matriarch that did not go unnoticed. Thank you for accepting my invitation, Mrs. Okafor. I prepared everything myself, he explained as he guided them toward the living area where appetizers had been arranged. No staff tonight. I thought it might be more comfortable that way. The revelation that a billionaire had personally cooked for them surprised everyone, especially Chioma, whose skepticism was etched clearly on her face. You cook? She questioned bluntly. Alyamide smiled. My mother insisted all her children learn basic life skills, regardless of our family's means. Throughout dinner, Alyamide directed the conversation toward his guests, asking thoughtful questions about their interests and aspirations. Nkechi blossomed under his attention, shyly explaining her love of mathematics and dream of becoming an engineer. Chitty gradually opened up about his passion for computer programming, self-taught through limited access at his school's computer lab. Throughout these exchanges, Adana noticed Chioma growing increasingly quiet, her earlier sharp comments giving way to watchful silence. As dessert was served, Alyamide finally addressed the elephant in the room. I imagine you're all wondering why I invited you here tonight, he said, his gaze moving from Neka to Chitty to Nkechi before settling on Adana. To show off your cooking skills? Chioma suggested with forced lightness. Alyamide smiled. I invited you because I wanted you to see me in my context, as I've had the privilege of seeing Adana in hers, and because I wanted to apologize properly for my initial deception. Turning to Nneka, he continued, Mrs. Okafor, when I met your daughter, I was at a crossroads. Success had brought many things, but also isolation. Everyone wanted something from me. I began going to public places anonymously, just to experience normal human interaction. And my daughter treated your wounds, Nneka observed neutrally. Yes, but more importantly, she showed me kindness without agenda, Alyamide replied. That affected me deeply. So this is what gratitude? Curiosity? A social experiment. Chioma asked sharply. Initially, perhaps curiosity, Alyamide admitted, but it's become something more. I've come to admire Adana's talent, integrity, and strength in supporting your family. What exactly are your intentions toward my daughter? Nneka asked directly. To know her better, Alyamide answered simply. To explore whether the connection I feel might develop into something meaningful for both of us. Before anyone could respond, Chioma set down her glass with deliberate precision. And what about Elizabeth Ojo? She asked. Your previous engagement that ended mysteriously last year? Surprisingly, Alyamide didn't appear defensive. You've done your research, he noted. Yes, I was briefly engaged to Elizabeth. The relationship ended because we wanted fundamentally different things. She saw marriage as a business arrangement. I wanted a partnership based on mutual respect and genuine connection. As the evening drew to a close, Alyamide presented each family member with a thoughtfully selected gift. For Chidi, a laptop for his programming. For Nkechi, advanced mathematics books. For Nneka, traditional herbs difficult to source in Lagos markets. For Chioma, a designer handbag she had admired during the tour. For Adana, he gave a brochure for Lagos's most prestigious design school with a handwritten note. Your talent deserves development on your terms, whenever you're ready. The evening concluded with Alyamide arranging for his driver to take everyone home. In the car, Adana noticed her mother and Chioma in intense conversation, their expressions serious. The next morning, just as Adana was opening her market stall, Chioma appeared, her face flushed with excitement. I've been researching more, she announced. Adana, you won't believe what I found out about your billionaire. What now? Adana sighed, unpacking her sewing supplies. He's been meeting with wedding planners, Chioma declared triumphantly. My cousin's girlfriend works as a receptionist at Lagos Grand Hotel, and she swears Alyamide had multiple meetings with the city's top wedding coordinator last month. That doesn't mean anything, Adana replied, though uncertainty crept into her voice. Doesn't it? He's planning a wedding, but with whom? Think about it. He suddenly breaks off his engagement to that socialite, then starts hanging around a market, finds you. Chioma leaned closer. What if he's looking for someone different, someone authentic, to make a statement? The billionaire who marries a market girl. Imagine publicity. The suggestion lodged uncomfortably in Adana's mind. Was Alyamide's interest genuine, or was she merely an interesting diversion from the calculated world of high society? There's more, Chioma continued, lowering her voice. My sources say his mother is pressuring him to marry someone from their social circle. The family has connections to the old money in Lagos. They'd never accept someone like you. I'm not trying to be accepted by anyone, Adana protested, though the seeds of doubt were taking root. All I'm saying is be careful, Chioma insisted, squeezing Adana's hand. I don't want to see you hurt when he inevitably returns to his world. Men like him might slum with girls like us, but they marry their own kind. That evening, Alyamide texted Adana. May I see you tomorrow? There's something important I'd like to ask you. As Adana stared at the message, Chioma's warnings echoed in her mind. What could a billionaire possibly want from a market seamstress, other than a brief, exotic adventure before returning to his real life? Adana made her best friend the maid of honor, but Chioma shows fake photos to destroy the wedding. If this betrayal makes your blood boil, pound that like button and subscribe to Africantales by Zion. Comment below. Is this the worst friendship betrayal you've ever seen? Will the wedding actually happen, or is their love doomed? The final chapter reveals everything. Share with a friend who knows what jealousy can do. Turn on notifications. The following day, Adana arrived at her market stall distracted and troubled. Chioma's warnings had kept her awake most of the night. What did Alyamide want to ask her? Was Chioma right about his meetings with wedding planners? You look terrible, Chioma observed, arriving with her usual blunt assessment. Didn't sleep? I kept thinking about what you said, Adana admitted, threading her sewing machine. About Alyamide meeting wedding planners. Chioma nodded grimly. You need to protect yourself, Adana. Rich men like him see poor girls like us as exotic adventurers, not serious partners. Before they could continue, Alyamide's driver appeared, approaching Adana's stall with a large bouquet of flowers. Miss Okafor, he greeted formally. Mr. Banko sends these with his compliments and asks if you might join him for dinner this evening at his residence. He said to tell you it's important. How romantic, Chioma muttered sarcastically as the driver departed. Dinner alone at his penthouse? I wonder what he has in mind. It's just dinner, Adana protested, though doubt colored her voice. Of course, Chioma agreed with exaggerated sweetness. And I'm sure his intentions are entirely honorable, just like those wedding planner meetings. Throughout the day, as customers came and went, Adana's anxiety mounted. By closing time, she'd made her decision. I'm going to hear what he has to say, she told Chioma. I need to know his real intentions. Chioma grabbed her arm. If you must go, at least let me help you prepare. Come to my place first. I have something that might enlighten you. At Chioma's apartment, she pulled out a folder. My cousin's girlfriend managed to take these pictures from the hotel security cameras. It's Alyamide with the wedding planner. And look who else is in meeting. The grainy photos showed Alyamide sitting with an elegant older woman and what appeared to be a wedding planner surrounded by sample books. His mother, Chioma explained triumphantly, planning his wedding to someone from their social circle. No doubt. You're just a distraction, Adana. A bit of excitement before he settles down properly. Devastated, Adana stared at the photos. They seemed to confirm her worst fears. What should I do? She asked, voice barely audible. Confront him, Chioma urged. Show him the photos. Watch his reaction. You'll know the truth by how he responds. When Alyamide's driver arrived, Adana clutched her purse containing the damning photos. The drive to his penthouse passed in tense silence, her mind rehearsing what she would say. To her surprise, when the elevator doors opened to Alyamide's apartment, she found the space transformed. Soft music played, candles flickered, and the dining table was elegantly set for two with rose petals scattered across the white tablecloth. Adana! Alyamide greeted her, his smile warm but nervous. Thank you for coming. What is all this? She asked, gesturing to the romantic setting. I wanted tonight to be special, he explained, leading her to the table. I have something important to ask you. Her heart sank. This looked exactly like the romantic proposal scene Chioma had warned about. The billionaire playing with her emotions before returning to his real world. Before you say anything, Adana interrupted, pulling out the photos, explain these. Alyamide looked genuinely confused as he examined the grainy images. Where did you get these? Does it matter? Is it true? Are you planning a wedding with your mother's approval while pretending to care about me? Understanding dawned on Alyamide's face, followed by something unexpected, relief and amusement. Adana, he said gently, these photos are from 3 months ago. That's Mrs. Adenuga, Lagos's premier wedding planner. And yes, that's my mother with me. So Chioma was right. Adana said bitterly, turning to leave. No, she wasn't, Alyamide replied, reaching for her hand. We weren't planning my wedding. We were planning my sister's wedding. She lives abroad and asked me to help with arrangements. The simple explanation stopped Adana in her tracks. Your sister's wedding? Alyamide nodded. My younger sister, Funmi. She's marrying a British man next month in Lagos. I've been helping coordinate since she can't be here for all the preparations. But, Chioma said. Adana faltered, confusion replacing certainty. I think your friend Chioma might not have your best interests at heart, Alyamide suggested gently. These photos have been deliberately presented out of context. As the truth dawned on Adana, pieces started falling into place. Chioma's escalating warnings, her determination to find dirt on Alumide, her constant reminders of their class differences. "I need to call her," Adana said firmly, pulling out her phone. When Chioma answered, Adana put her on speaker. "Chioma, the wedding planning was for Alumide's sister, not him. Did you know that?" A telling pause followed before Chioma's voice came through, defensive. "How was I supposed to know? It looked suspicious." "You could have asked me directly," Alumide interjected calmly, instead of giving Adana selective information designed to create doubt. Another pause, longer this time. "Adana, you don't understand," Chioma finally said, her voice taking on a desperate edge. "Men like him, they don't really see us. We're novelties to them. I was protecting you." "Were you?" Adana asked quietly. "Or were you trying to sabotage something you couldn't have?" Chioma's composure finally cracked. "What was I supposed to do? Watch you leap into a fantasy while I'm left behind? Everything always comes so easily to you. Your talent, your beauty, men's attention. And now a billionaire falls at your feet? What about me? When is it my turn?" The raw jealousy in her friend's voice stunned Adana into silence. "I think," Alumide said gently, "that this conversation might be better continued another time, when emotions aren't so high." After ending the call, Adana sat heavily in the dining chair. "Try to process Chioma's betrayal. I thought she was my friend." "She probably still is, in her way," Alumide offered, sitting across from her. "Jealousy is a powerful emotion. It can make good people do terrible things." "How can you be so understanding?" Adana asked, surprised by his compassion. "Because I've seen how wealth and privilege can distort relationships. Your friend feared losing you to my world, just as I feared you might reject me if you knew my full identity too soon." He reached across the table, taking her hand. "We all make mistakes when we're afraid." The gentle wisdom in his words resonated with Adana. After a moment, she gestured to the romantic setting around them. "So, what was this important question you wanted to ask me?" Alumide smiled, reaching into his pocket to withdraw a small box. "This may seem sudden, but I've never been more certain of anything." Adana's breath caught as he opened the box, revealing not a ring, but a key. "This is the key to a small design studio I purchased," he explained. "I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. We're still getting to know each other. But I am asking you to accept this opportunity to pursue your dream while we see where our relationship might lead." Tears filled Adana's eyes at the thoughtful gesture. Not a proposal that might pressure her, but a gift that honored her talent and ambitions. "The studio is yours regardless of what happens between us," Alumide continued. "Your talent deserves development. Adana, I'd like to support that whether we end up together or not." "I don't know what to say," Adana whispered, deeply moved by his understanding of what truly mattered to her. "Say you'll at least consider it," he replied. "And perhaps also consider giving us a real chance. No more secrets, no more doubts planted by others. Just two people seeing if they might build something meaningful together." 2 months later, Adana stood in her new design studio, surrounded by fabrics, sketches, and 3 apprentices, young women from her old market neighborhood whom she'd hired to train. Her first small collection had attracted attention from local boutiques, and orders were steadily increasing. The bell above the door jingled, and Alumide entered, carrying lunch. Their relationship had progressed gradually but steadily, built on honest communication and mutual respect rather than the whirlwind romance of fairy tales. "How's business today?" he asked, kissing her cheek. "Growing," Adana replied happily. "I just received an order from that boutique in Victoria Island." As they shared lunch in her small office, Adana reflected on how much had changed. Her family was thriving. Chitty attending a computer programming course, Ketchy excelling in her new school. Her mother's health improved with proper medical care. And Chioma? After several difficult conversations, they had reached an uneasy truce. The friendship would never be the same, but Adana had offered her former best friend a position managing the business side of her new design studio, an opportunity Chioma had eventually accepted, working to overcome her jealousy and rebuild trust. "What are you thinking about?" Alumide asked, noting her thoughtful expression. How one moment of kindness to a stranger changed everything. Adana replied, "If I hadn't helped you that day, then I would have missed meeting the most remarkable woman I've ever known," Alimai completed, taking her hand. As they sat together in the sunlit studio, surrounded by the fruits of Adana's talent and hard work, the contrast between their first meeting, a bleeding stranger and a kind seamstress in a humble market stall, and their current reality seemed both miraculous and perfectly natural. Sometimes the most beautiful designs emerge from unexpected patterns. And sometimes the most meaningful connections form the most unlikely circumstances, when kindness is offered freely without expectation of return. After all that sabotage and jealousy, Adana still gave Chioma a second chance. If you believe in forgiveness or think she should have cut her off completely, crush that like button and subscribe to Africantales by Zion. Comment below. Would you have forgiven Chioma or ended the friendship forever? This story proves that one ACT of kindness can change your entire life. Share with someone who needs to hear this message. And stay tuned for our next amazing story. Turn on notifications so you don't miss it.